you for that, Java. Thank you. This is Next Stop Mississippi. We are back for our first show.
Yes.
Of the new year.
Yes.
And we are starting this off right today.
I mean, because we overcomer. We are overcomers.
We shall, and we have, and we'll keep.
That's right.
You
Overcoming.
Know, we'll
there you
keep.
go.
And so I am just so excited to be back in the building with you today. It's 2025, Kamel.
Crazy. Every Friday, like, my brain has been like, you are not supposed to be at home right now, sir.
It's 2025, man. We are getting things started. Java, how you feeling on this new year?
I can't believe this is the first show of 2025.
The first show. First Next Stop Mississippi show of 2025. And I am so blessed for it to be the one where we celebrate and commemorate Martin Luther King Jr. How great is that?
Wonderful.
To come back on a show like this today.
Yes.
So I am super excited to get it all kicked off. And we shall. And because we've got a guest in the building, and I need to go ahead and invite him into the conversation. For our first stop of the day, we are heading right around a corner.
Right around the corner, but into another world.
Right around the corner, definitely into another world when you step on the campus, because this is a lot.
Yes, it is.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful place, and you do feel like you've been transported.
Most certainly.
And then to transport it into a whole history lesson as well. So I am definitely blessed to have on the show with us Michael Morris, the two Mississippi Museums director. Thank you so much, man, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Germaine and Kamel. This is a real blessing.
You didn't introduce him right, though.
Okay, Kamel.
You didn't do that right.
Kamel, you know how to do it correctly. Okay, go ahead.
The young rogue scholar, the man who built the museums brick by brick with all his other cohorts, and who now stands at the top of Mount Olympus of the Smithsonian quality two Mississippi museums.
How do you find
Michael
these
Morris?
Now, Michael, you're gonna have to do a handstand, a cartwheel, or something.
Yeah, as soon as I get in that parking lot, I'm gonna do something.
The way he introduced you, you've got to come out with something. But
absolutely.
I am so glad you came out to join us today on Next Stop Mississippi. I'm glad to have you here for the first time. We're talking today about the MLK Celebration Free Weekend and beyond, because you all keep events going all the time over there at two Mississippi Museums.
Absolutely.
So I want to jump right into that. MLK Celebration Free Weekend, that's happening starting tomorrow, the 18th through the 21st. Let everybody know just a little dabble of what they can expect.
Yeah, sure. And let me just start off, Germaine, by saying that the reason that we're able to do so many events at the museums is because of the generosity of our sponsors.
Right.
And so this weekend has been sponsored by FedEx. And like you just said, from Saturday, January the 18th, all the way through Tuesday, January the 21st, admission is absolutely free.
Right.
Wow.
On Saturday, it's pretty typical museum experience. We're going to have some special tours that we're going to be offering folks. A lot of people might not know, but this year is the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
And so we're going to use this as an opportunity to kind of educate folks about the importance of that. Some special tours through both of our museums. And then, of course, Mr. Hezekiah Watkins, the youngest participant in the 1961 Freedom Rides, will be sharing his story with an audience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And then on Sunday, we'll do some special tours. The museum's open at 11. And then, of course, Nick Wallace's Cafe is going to be open.
We love to eat there.
I'll take that.
So what you want to do is you want to go to the 8 o'clock service, right?
Right.
And then just make your way to the museums, and we'll take care of you for the rest of the day.
That's
Right.
right. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Well, I wanted to ask, the thing about the two Mississippi museums, like we're talking about, it has such rich, diverse, and consistent programming.
Yes.
And, I mean, when you look at the quality of the two museums, first of all, where do you get two museums in one? I mean, let's start right there.
Right.
So then when you unpack everything that it's in the museum, then you couple it with a stellar restaurant, you would think that's enough, but you guys keep programming. How do you do that?
Man, it's the number one focus that we have, not just at our museums, but across the Department of Archives and History, is coming up with strategies to increase our visitation at all of our sites. And our programming is just one avenue, one way that we do that. To your question about why there are two museums, our Civil Rights Museum started out as an effort among the veterans of the Civil Rights Movement on the campus of Tougaloo College.
My alma mater, by the way.
That's your alma mater. That's right.
Okay,
So,
come on now.
Great school.
I went there for a week. No, literally, I did. I went there for
They
a
kicked
week.
you out? No, you left.
I transferred to Mississippi College. That's what happened. That's
my,
what happened.
my other alma mater.
Yeah, I
So I ain't
know.
mad at you.
And Mississippi had always had a state history museum going all the way back to 1961. Long story short, around about 2009, 2010, a decision was made to build both of these projects together under one roof. They felt like it was important that our students from across the state learn about both our civil rights history, but then our state history, which starts, as you know, Kamel, with the Native American experience.
Most certainly.
And
Most
so
certainly.
building our foundation there and really trying to create a better understanding for our students to understand where we are today.
Sure.
Our tagline is, in order to understand America, you need to understand Mississippi.
I mean,
That's
all the
true.
way.
That's true.
All the way.
I always feel like it had started, well, not say it started here, but definitely kind of all surrounded the state. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it happened here, and it's just such a hub of history. And that's why we've got two of them. We got so much
Too many
history.
stories to share. That's right. That's
Right.
right. And it's kind of hard to share the stories of our cultural experience, for example,
Yeah.
in our civil rights
Yeah,
museum.
yeah.
You know, this is the birthplace of America's music.
Most certainly.
And we've got some of the greatest quilters in the world. And so we wanted to
Yeah.
talk about all those stories. And the best way that we thought that we could do that is through our State History Museum.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so you've gone all the way through Saturday's events.
Yes.
Coming up Monday.
Yes.
Let's go there.
That's
That's
gonna
the
be a big
MLK Night of Culture.
That's right. That's
Let
right.
everybody know what they can expect there.
You know, since 2019, we've had an MLK Night of Culture. And really what it is an opportunity for our young people to come to the museums and showcase their talents.
Yeah.
We always have a theme every year. Last year was Freedom Summer because it was the 60th anniversary.
Yeah.
This year's the Voting Rights Act. We basically put that out and we do a call for submissions.
Okay.
And artists from across the state submit, things that they'd like to do. There's a little committee, and we kind of pick the artists.
Yeah.
And all of them are just really, really excited to share their talents on that night, whether it's spoken word,
Okay.
or singing music, or playing the guitar, or dancing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be a really, really good time. We usually have more than 350 people that show up.
Yeah, this is a night.
It starts at 6 o'clock, but I've been telling folks you really want to get there as early as you can so that you can get a good seat.
What's the
Yeah.
attire?
The attire is whatever you want to wear.
Okay, I
Come
want to
as
make
you
sure.
are, right?
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Be careful with that, Mike. Be careful with that.
Come as you are within reason. Okay.
Okay. Come as you are, not that much as you are. No. I love it. And this is going to be hosted by Alexis Noble.
That's right. She's
Okay.
a
Nice.
local MC, entrepreneur,
Nice.
very, very talented young lady. She's really excited to help us out tonight. We usually bring in somebody from outside of the museums to help us out.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And it keeps going, everyone. This is not the end of the event. So
Right.
Tuesday, January 21st is an important day as well.
Absolutely.
National Day of Racial Healing.
That's right.
Let everybody know about that.
So
Michael.
the National Day of Racial Healing is something that was started by the Kellogg Foundation some years ago. It's
Okay.
always the day after MLK Day. And the Kellogg Foundation has been one of our
Wonderful.
strongest supporters.
Wonderful.
Even before the museums even opened, during construction, they really came through to help us out.
Yeah.
And so we thought it was important to make sure that we do some programming on that day, just to commemorate this, this notion of racial healing. And I thought there's no better example of what we're talking about when we talk about racial healing and transforming communities than Dr. John Perkins,
Yes.
who was a civil rights veteran
Yes.
that's been operating in West Jackson for more than 50 years.
Yes.
And he just turned 95 years old, and so
Come on now.
I thought it was important that we that we celebrate him, that we give him his flowers while he can still smell them. And we've actually been working with his daughters, with the Alluvial Collective, with the Kellogg Foundation, the Foundation for the Mid-South, and FedEx to put on a couple of panels in his honor.
Right.
The first panel is going to be specifically about him, and then the second panel is going to be about the importance of local philanthropy, and especially in communities across our state. And so I'm really, really excited about that. The good news about this particular program starts at 11:30. We're going to provide lunch for all that attend.
Oh.
And so again, you might want to get there a little early to make sure you get something to eat. But it's free and open to the public.
I didn't want to say the free again, but other than Mr. Wallace's establishment,
Right.
Yeah.
everything else is free, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Nick gonna be like, you need to turn around.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we do have an excellent museum store.
Yes,
the store
you do.
manager is Kimberly Cooper.
Yes, you do.
Everything in our store is Mississippi made.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
wonderful.
It's where I do all my Christmas shopping.
It is wonderful.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's more free food coming, though.
Okay.
The next day, right?
Yes.
Wednesday, January 22nd.
Yes.
History is Lunch, MLK in Mississippi. This is featuring you.
Yes, this is featuring me. It's an interesting story about how we came to that conclusion. We had booked another guest to start actually this week, but we had to do some renovations to our auditorium. And so about 3 months ago, I just said, you know what, I'll start us off, and I'll talk about
It's not self-serving at all.
But, ever since we've opened,
Yeah.
one of the questions we get from guests is about Martin Luther King's time in Mississippi. And so I thought this would be a really good opportunity
Wonderful.
to just kind of speak to that.
Yes.
Put that on YouTube. And so
Right.
when we get that question, we can just send them the video.
Yeah, you go.
And come to find out, Martin Luther King was here every year except for one from 1958 all the way up until his death.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In fact, in 1968, he was in Mississippi just 2 weeks before he passed away. He had made a trip all the way from the Mississippi Delta down to Hattiesburg and Laurel, Mississippi
Yeah.
in one day.
Wow.
And what he was
Yeah.
doing was promoting this Poor People's Campaign that he did not get to see go into fruition because, as we all know, he was assassinated. But the Poor People's Campaign actually started right here in Mississippi, in Marks, Mississippi, just after he died. So
Michael, what I
I'm excited
love
to
is
talk about
how y'all, it seems like Mississippi as a whole in the last 10, 15 years has really taken like control of
Of our narrative.
of our narrative
Right.
all around the board, but especially with civil rights.
Right.
And all of the work that has been done with the Mississippi Freedom Trail, and
Yes.
shout out to Visit Mississippi and Rochelle and everything they're doing and that we did. And the U.S. Civil Rights Trail
Yes.
and the museums and all of this is just really, now we are telling the stories. And I mean, we always have.
Right.
And there have always been documentaries and projects that have been super rich that have come out of the state. But it seems now like it's an insurgence of it.
I mean, Kamel, you hit the nail on the head, man. The stars have really aligned. And I mean, I think it culminates with the opening of the Medgar and Merle Evers Home Monument.
Yes.
Which is a really, really big deal.
Yes.
It's the only home monument in the state of Mississippi. And it's been managed by the Park Service. And so we're creating this nexus. We're creating this community of public historians that are interested in sharing these stories and all of their truth.
That's right.
Unvarnished truth. And
Unvarnished
without holding anything back. And when you look at what's going on in Vicksburg with the Vicksburg National Military Park, when you look at the work that we're doing down in Natchez with the Grand Village of the Natchez Indians and historic Jefferson College, what we're doing here in Jackson at the museums, what we're doing in North Mississippi in Greenwood, I think what you're going to see is that we're developing a center for the study of American history right here in Mississippi.
Yes.
Which I think is really incredible.
Yes.
This is going to be a
Great
place
way to
that
put
people
that.
around the country are going to want to come and study everything from antebellum Mississippi
Yes.
all the way through civil rights.
Yes.
Right. I love that. I love all of this.
Word
okay,
up.
so we haven't finished yet.
There's still more papers?
There's still more paper. The last one, though, is that I've got on my slate is Sunday screening, Always a Winner, Sunday, January 26th at the two Mississippi museums. This is about Roy Curry, a quarterback ahead of his time. Let everybody know about that. That's also on the horizon.
It is. That's this Sunday. We've been partnering with the Mississippi Film Office and the Mississippi Humanities Council. Shout out to them because they're really involved in writing those Freedom Trail markers.
Yes.
And
Shout out Stewart and them.
Rock off. That's right. And so once Sunday every month we screen a documentary I don't know too much about this particular documentary, other than the fact that this guy was an incredible football player.
Yeah.
And he's a Mississippian.
Right,
and
right.
So we're
grew
excited
up in Clarksdale.
That's right.
Right. That's
So,
where all the great ones grow up.
Tell you, yes.
the crossroads, right?
Right. And then he went on to play 2 seasons as wide receiver with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL. But he touched Jackson State for a minute there.
He touched Jackson State for a minute there, and he's another example of the outsized influence that Mississippi has in sports.
I love it.
We talk about the greatest wide receiver of all time,
Come on
Jim
now.
Rice.
Come on now.
We talk about one of the greatest running backs of all time, Walter Payton, that went to Jackson State.
I love it.
I mean, just an outsized influence for a state with less than 3 million people.
And then the list just goes all the way down the hallway.
Yeah. Michael, you have just come in with a plethora of information. Let everybody know about
I hope nobody's
everything.
falling asleep.
No, but just in case their brains are full, where can they get more information online?
They can either go to 2MississippiMuseums.com. You spell out 2 Mississippi Museums. Or they can go to the Department of Archives and History website, www.mdah.ms.gov. And if you just want to talk to somebody on the phone, because that's my mama, she's like, give me a phone number.
I don't want to go online.
601-576-6800.
Okay.
And we'll tell you all you need to know about all the offerings that we have.
Perfect.
Coming up this next week.
MLK, the Celebration Free Weekend.
Capitalize that. Yes.
Capital Free.
Mike, we proud of you, buddy.
Man, I appreciate you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you
y'all
so
much for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming on. Now, listen, everybody, it's time for us to take a break, but hold on tight. When we return, we're checking out what's happening around your neck of the woods. This is Next Stop Mississippi on MPB Think Radio.
And so we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check. A check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
I think the dream is alive and well, and I often say this as I speak around the country. And what I mean essentially is that those things which my husband stood for, the ideals of justice, of equality, of brotherhood and peace, have been embraced by many more people since his death than during his lifetime. And people are working throughout this nation to fulfill those ideals.
You're listening to Next Stop Mississippi on MPB Think Radio. I'm Germaine Flood, in with my traveling partners, Java Chapman and Kamel King. How powerful is that?
Man, it's just it's like hearing civil rights royalty speak.
I know.
She sounds just so regal and above all, the negativity with such a wide view of how the world should be.
And at the time when she recorded this, I want everybody to know out there, that was recorded here at Mississippi Public Broadcasting. She walked into this building and she recorded that. And that was recorded, 6 years, I think?
5 years after the death.
5 years.
Wow.
5 years after his assassination.
If the walls could talk here, man.
And she was as strong as a brick wall. You hear me?
Ooh, that is a queen.
I'm telling you, 5 years after that, her remarks on the progress of the civil rights movement, especially across the American Deep South, and how she hopes it all will evolve. She reflected on the nonviolent resistance to achieve racial equality and how much Mississippi has achieved in terms of advancing civil rights. Java, where can they go and view that in full? That's even longer than that clip. I mean, way longer.
Oh, yeah. You can see the whole thing. mpbonline.org is on our front screen, or mpbonline.org/radio. It's a good, quick 30 minutes because you get transported to 1973. And it's kind of funny, or not funny, but interesting to hear how she talks about the past. Now we're living in 2024, in 2025, even to the part where she talks about the King Center in Atlanta and how they're going to make some additions and do these things now. And if you've ever been to the King Center, then you know what kind of wonderful place it is. But 73, it was in the Genesis stage. So, for her vision that she was talking about way back then to be what it is now. And it's a great interview. And to your point, Kamel, she is true royalty. She was, elegance and grace personified,
Just regalness.
She was. She really, really was. And I love weaving this in, and I'm really in love with this episode. Like, this is one of my favorite episodes that we've done so far this year, for sure. It's our first one. But for sure, in the years that I've been here doing these episodes, this is one of my favorites because she actually was here for that taping, and that's history.
And my favorite part, like I said, you got to watch the interview, but my favorite part is she talks about how Mississippi really made the most progress in her eyes because the movement wasn't necessarily here. Like, they had the bus boycotts in Alabama and, the march to Washington and things like that. But for Mississippi to have as many elected officials, black elected officials as they did at the time, and Charles Evers made his initial run for governor. And in the interview, she says it's just so funny that a black man could run for governor and not be lynched.
Yeah.
That was actual progress.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, this is powerful stuff. I wanted to get into our what's happening today with a little talk about how you grew up with the history of Dr. Martin Luther King, because I know it was weaved into our households. Now, my parents, they were sticklers about reading. We had not only the full Encyclopedia Britannica collection with the children's version of it, but then my father always made friends with the door-to-door salesmen. But the good thing was we had a black version of those books that came through that helped teach me. And it was just, ingrained in the household that it was there. Daddy wouldn't sit you down, but you kind of knew, what I'm saying, from what was around you and what you learned out of those books. Java, what about you?
Well, I'm going to bring up Adiambo.
And I didn't want to say it first. Let me tell you what I don't tease Java, because Java went to one of those schools that was catered towards African American studies, right? And that was Adiambo.
Wow.
Yeah, Adiambo.
Where is that, or was that?
Well, oh man,
is it still open?
No,
Java?
it actually. A group of us Adiambo alumni were actually discussing that they closed their doors I want to say either last year or the year before last. After a long, I mean, I'm 40, and I know some of the older people who went there. They're in their 50s, so it was around for a while. And some people would say we were like even Germaine, we were the Afrocentric.
Yes, they were
hippies.
I'm jelly. I'm jelly, and I say this too. I'll be like, my boss went to Adiambo.
Wow. But to bring it down a little bit for people who may not be familiar, if you ever went to the Jackson State Homecoming Parade, they would always win for best float.
Really?
Yeah, that was always a big deal. But yeah, Adiambo would, wouldn't force it, to Germaine's point of what happened in her household. It wasn't forced upon you, but it was like put in front of you as this is the truth. These are things that have happened, and these are people that you should know. And Martin Luther King was at the top of that list. So I'm talking about the celebrations would just be enormous, And then February for Black History Month would always be a big thing. So yeah, it was there, and it was not hidden.
Yeah,
man,
I loved it. I loved it. Kamel, how did you come up with it? What was in your household surrounding them?
Well, my dad and mom always every summer made us read biographies. Yeah. So I mean, we had to read biographies. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, so many other figureheads, and so, but. More importantly, I lived with a civil rights activist because Lee King is by all definitions of the word.
Let me tell you, Kamel woke up with a sign in his hand. He was ready to go marching.
Yeah, like for real.
I love it. I love you, Mr. King.
Yeah, Pops is a real, and I mean, he really lived it out. He was basically raised on the road with James Brown, who was very militant, which, really shaped him. At a certain point in his life, he was part of the Nation of Islam, and so in just going through all that, he had a radio show called Message to a Black Man, which was unheard of. Yeah. Like he literally got in a shootout about it, over the radio show.
Come on now.
So all of the different
living
things.
Up to that name, King. You hear me?
He's done some. And what a lot of people don't know is he and the National Black Promoters Association had one of the biggest lawsuits against the biggest talent agencies in the world for discriminating against black promoters. Once artists got to a certain point, if you were a black promoter, you couldn't book them anymore. So you were boxed out. And literally, he was marching in L.A. I remember him flying out every weekend marching in L.A. And I mean, these are the type of people who blackball you out the industry, who put hits on you and stuff. So I grew up with a civil rights activist.
You got the encyclopedia books.
Yes.
He had a front row seat.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay, here's a couple of more front row seats that you can have when you're celebrating MLK this whole holiday. Some of it's going past Monday. So let's get into some of these, what's happening. MLK Unity 5K Walk Run. That's going to be at Snowden Park in South Haven, Mississippi, Monday, January 20th, 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. They'll be out there doing a Unity Run Walk. You can register for that. We have all the information on all of these events on our website. Coming up after that, or same day, Monday, January 20th, there's a lot of January 20th dates. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day Parade will be happening in Natchez, Mississippi on North Broadway Street, so you all can get out to that. That'll be Grand Marshals include Derek Johnson, National President and CEO of the NAACP, and Natchez Alderman Billy Joe Frazier, Ward 2, and Adams County Supervisor Ricky Gray in District 4. So that Martin Luther King Jr. Day Parade will be in Natchez on Monday, January 20th, 3 p.m. until 5 p.m. Coming up, I'd like to go to some of our adjoining states that can hear us as well. Shout out to New Orleans. who I think can hear us a little bit because I figured it out yesterday.
Figured
it out on autocorrect.
What trickery?
I figured it out on autocorrect yesterday because I asked the caller, but we get really, really close, and if you get just a tick, maybe 5-10 minutes outside of it, you can hear us. So shout out to y'all down there.
I know that's right.
Also,
Transistor radio.
no, he was clear as a bell. Okay, Helena, Arkansas, they are having a tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That'll be happening Monday, January 20th, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. This will be a program event held at the Beth L. Heritage Hall in Helena, Arkansas. I hope I'm saying Helena right, but I think I am. But yeah, shout out to everybody in Helena, Arkansas out there. And then coming up in Monroe, Louisiana. They can hear us there, John.
Monroe.
Monroe is guaranteed.
Yeah, they can hear us in Monroe. Monroe, Louisiana, they are having their MLK Day of Service Promise Pantry annual food drive hosted by the Louisiana Delta Community College. That'll be January 20th, 10 a.m. until 12 p.m. in Monroe, Louisiana. Together, they're saying we can make a difference. Y'all, that's what's happening around your MLK neck of the woods.
Yes.
Okay, it's time for us to take another break, and on the other side, it's a final stop at the Lynn Meadows Discovery Center in Gulfport. We love her. We love Lynn Meadows, and then we love Cindy DeFrancis. She's the executive director of the Discovery Center. She'll be coming up next talking about the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day event. You're listening to Next Stop Mississippi on MPB Think Radio.
Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summit of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until that is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual.
it so much as a child, you can almost recite it word for word. So
the one thing I would say, with YouTube and the internet, you can basically get all of his speeches in full. And if you want to dive deep into what Martin Luther King really stood for, he gets touted out sometimes, the Santa Clausification, as they say, of Martin Luther King.
Yeah, you're right about that.
But if you really dive deep into his story, he was really about peace in a strong way, really about poor people and economic empowerment in a strong way. So, it's not just love thy enemy, which is great, and turning the other cheek, but
that's right, Java.
he had some views. And
say that Santa Claus word again. I'm gonna use that.
I mean, that was Santa Clausification.
It's called the Santa Clausification of Martin Luther King. Man, we have to talk to Cindy this morning.
We gonna get Miss Cindy. She right here. She waiting on us. She right here. Listen, we are back, and for our final stop of the day, we are still celebrating that man himself, Martin Luther King Jr., at the Lynn Meadows Discovery Center in Gulfport, Mississippi, which I drove by last year when we went down there, and I was like, I know that lady that works in there. Right now, that lady is Miss Cindy DeFrancis, the LMDC Executive Director. Miss Cindy, thank you so much for joining us here on Next Stop this morning.
Oh, thank y'all. I always love coming on the show. Y'all are so fun.
I know, and I love having you. Now you're part of the family. What is this, like year 3? You and I have spoken.
I know. Yeah.
I love Lynn Meadows. I love everything that you all have going on, and this is an important one as well. You know how to always hit the event nail on the head. Let me start there. Who helps put all of these events together that Lynn Meadows Discovery Center has on a regular?
Look, we have such a great team of people who work here, and everybody has just this creative, mind. And so we just sit around the table and come up with ideas and just throw it out at each other. And then that's how we come up with our plans.
And then the participation from the community, how big is that for you all?
We have such a huge community following, and the community around us. I mean, it's not just, the coastal area, but the entire state of Mississippi. And then we have, people who come over from the Alabama and New Orleans. And so we just have a great following. We have a lot of people who really appreciate what we do here, and they show it by coming here. Last year, we had over 119,000 guests. So that's how many people
do. They do. And then the history a little bit of this of the Discovery Center was that it was a school at one time, right?
Yes, it was Mississippi City Elementary School, and it was built in 1915. So we are sitting in a building that's well over 100 years old now. And it was converted into a children's museum back in 1998, and we were the first children's museum in the state.
I love
that's the one thing that I did not know until I visited Lynn Meadows, and my daughter absolutely loved it. Oh man, yes.
Well, if Kennedy loves it, I gotta go.
Woo, it's great. It's great. So in the history and the scenery and just the entire staff. I mean, Mississippi has just like when we talked to Michael, a wonderful museum system. I mean, it's just wonderful the complexity of museums, but especially our children's museum, there on the coast, and then here in Jackson they're stellar.
Yeah. Cindy, how big are the grounds?
We have almost 10 acres now. And they're covered in live oaks and beautiful trees, and we've got tree houses, and we actually face the Gulf of Mexico. And so it is one of the most beautiful locations. And so that, that tends to make people want to come and spend more time outdoors. And so it's just a gorgeous ground.
Right. Everybody's got to go there, especially for this event, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the MLK event that's going to be happening Monday, January 20th, starting at 10 a.m. Cindy, let everybody know what they can expect from this commemoration event.
Okay. What we do is, we want to make sure that families have an opportunity to come and play together and share together. And so we do that by some of the activities that we have going on that day. Children will be able to create their own handprints in the artist studio where they can leave their mark, and we will hang those all throughout the museum, and they can write, words of peace, words of wisdom, words of whatever they want to write on it. And so it's for them to share how they feel about the world.
Yeah.
We have this really cool experiment that we're planning on doing.
Okay.
It's a diversity experiment, basically for children to see that it doesn't matter what color you are on the outside, everybody's the same on the inside, and we do it with eggs.
Love it.
We have we get eggs from a farmer not too far from here, and they are, we have blue eggs, we have green eggs, we have white eggs, we have speckled eggs.
But when you crack them.
But when we crack them,
That's
you find
right.
out that they all look the same on the inside.
That's right, Miss Cindy.
So that's just a fun little activity. And then we have we call Imagination Playground. It's these big blue blocks, and we put them outside, and we encourage children and families to build something together as a community, not just individual building, but everybody works together to build something.
Yeah.
And that's always fun to watch too.
Right.
So it's just a fun day. It's a very fun day.
Is this year one for this Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day event?
No, we've been doing this annually since I've been here.
I knew it. You're a pro. You're a pro. You're a pro. I love this. Talk about your team, though, that's helping organize this event with you.
Okay. We have such a great, like I said, a team of creative people, but the museum manager is the main one that will oversee it and make sure that everything is, is perfect for the families when they get here. But we really depend on our staff, the floor staff, the people who are working on the floor in the trenches with the families day to day. And they are the ones who know these families who come. They're the ones who interact with the families. I get to go down there and interact with the families also, but I'm not the one that's in there, from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And so it's our museum staff that makes all of this happen. And it's like magic, watching them work together with the families.
I love this. Okay, so back to the event. There's story time as well that's rounding all of this off.
Yes, we will have story time throughout the day, starting at 10 o'clock, and we'll go all the way through till 5 o'clock. And we'll make announcements throughout the day and let people know, that story time will be held here or in a certain place. And so it's just throughout the museum. And of course, the museum is open for play.
Right.
And so people will be able to just enjoy the museum together as a family, as well as partake in the additional activities we have going on throughout the day.
I love that. I love that. How do families react to this event each and every single year?
We have a lot of families who come annually. This is something that they look forward to as a family, something that, especially since a lot of parents are off work that day, so it's a great place to be able to come and enjoy each other's time and meet up with other families. We actually have a lot of church groups who will bring, small bus loads of families who want to come together and participate as a church community. And so it's just grown every year. I think last year we had about 500 or 600 people here.
Awesome.
Wow.
And I imagine that we'll have just as many, if not more, this year.
Okay, just let me know, are grown people allowed to act like kids there?
No, get out.
They are.
Act like an adult or get out.
Of course they are. And actually, like our climbing structure in the center of the museum, that's
it can hold me.
It can hold adults.
Okay, good. Good.
So we definitely want adults to act like children.
I want to know, because Kamel has sold me so much on Kennedy, like loving it. I want to go and feel free when I go.
Yes, you'll have so much fun.
And you can come anytime you'd like. You just let me know, and I'll be happy to give you the grand behind-the-scenes tour.
Say less, as the children say nowadays. Say less, Miss Cindy. Listen, don't say less for real, though. Let everybody know, though, about membership to the museum and things like that, how they can get involved with the museum outside of just being a member as well.
Okay. Well, our regular we're open 7 days a week. And so, and that is because the community showed us that they want to be here every day of the week. And we used to, only be open 6 days a week. So we've been open 7 days a week for quite a while. Wow. Our general admission price is $12 per person. That's adults and children. But we always have discounts for seniors, for military. We also have discounts for we offer families with EBT cards or SNAP cards. They can come into the museum at a reduced rate for $5. We have coupons everywhere. If you just Google Lynn Meadows Discovery Center coupons, you'll find a $2 off coupon everywhere. So,
Oh, I love some coupons.
oh, yeah.
You talking about language now, Miss Dear Francis.
And there's all kinds of opportunities. And then, of course, we have scholarships, and we have we work with a lot of outreach programs here. I work with several Section 8 housing complexes. We work with our food pantries. And so we try to make Lynn Meadows Discovery Center accessible to everybody. And we feel like, we've done a great job with that. And I'm sure we have lots more work that we can do towards that. But we are definitely seeing strides and making strides where all families, can find a way to come to these.
That's right. And some of those strides happen, and most of those strides are happening in y'all's events. The event calendar is bonkers. Literally what's going on right now in the artist studio is happening too.
Yes, our artist studio, it changes weekly. I am looking for I'm not 100% sure what is happening this week.
I see one that says Artful Arctic Collage.
There we go.
That's what's happening outside.
Yes, and I've got it right here. Yes, and so they're painting a wilderness collage using an artist style, and the artist is Krista Rezheneval.
Okay.
And they'll be adding an Arctic animal to be able to complete their masterpiece. And then next week, we're doing paper sculptures, and we're exploring the world of Alexander Calder. And they'll be using recycled paper. And so every week, the artist studio changes.
That's
and
great.
we also offer so many other opportunities, in addition to the artist studio.
I love it, Cindy. Okay, one thing you're going to have to invite Kamel to be a speaker, a presenter of, is y'all's National Imagination Day and Storytime, because he has an imagination like none other, and he can come up with stories off the top of his head.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Cindy, she's talking.
I need all that information. I need your information.
Cindy, she's talking about the story trilogy that I came up with Kennedy
For his
at
daughter.
2 years. It's called Snaggletooth, the friendly snake. He's a toothless snake that goes around meeting animals and insects all throughout life.
He's great. He can do it great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you need to call him. Call him, Cindy.
I love it.
Cindy, everybody can go to get more information, lmdc.org, right?
Yes, that's our website. Yes. And of course, follow us on social media. We post things all the time about all of our upcoming events.
I love it. I love it. I love you. Every single year you come on, you just make my day.
Oh, you're the sweetest. I love y'all. Y'all are doing great things, and I appreciate y'all.
I appreciate you, Cindy. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us again today on Next Stop Mississippi.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
All right, you too, Cindy. You too.
All right.
Awesome.
Y'all.
Thank you. That was a good show, man.
Wonderful show,
and
man.
We have
2025 kicking in the door.
That's right. We kick it in the door.
It's wonderful.
On 2025. And then
celebrating.
I've already booked you a gig for the year.
I know, to go storytell. They're going to be like, who is this guy? Is he published?
I booked you a gig at Lynn Meadows Discovery Center.
Know.
So I hope everybody gets out to some of these and commemorates this weekend for it. And then we've got Monday off. So everybody, just have a safe one.
But make sure that you, and it's not like you are taking time to worship. No, you are taking time to recognize and remember. So don't just take the day off. Take some time in that day, and it doesn't matter what color you are.
Yeah.
Because this is a part of American history, and it affected the entire world. This affected and it touched every part of the world. So I encourage people to make sure while you have this time off Monday, rest, do all those things that you like to do, but make sure you recognize why you're off.
Mic drop. That's what I'm talking about, Kamel. Mic drop. Well, listen, everybody, we've come to the end of another great trip. We want to thank you for riding shotgun and today's guests, Michael Morris and Cindy DeFrancis, for joining us. To submit an event or find out more information about these and what's happening around your neck of the woods, visit mpbonline.org, click the community tab to view SIP events, or email events@mpbonline.org. Next Stop Mississippi is produced by yours truly. For Java Chapman and Kamel King, I'm Germaine Flood. Today's MMPs were Blake and Sahana. It's Southern Remedy for Women up next. And join us next Friday at 10 a.m. for another great trip here on Next Stop, Mississippi.
This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring. And when this happens, and when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.